tabletop date night. Yeah. I'm just seeing if anyone would pop up. I'm surprised people pop it up. Thanks. I do like this model. I think it's a pretty darn good model. I wish I was the one that actually 3D modeled it, but nope. I'll probably see if I can find the link to it sometime and post where I found it. Let's see. Hopefully people can hear me. I really hope people can hear me. Okay, cool. I'll just turn the music down then. And see if I can turn the gain up on my mic. I don't know why, but for some reason, I either talk really quietly, or I need to figure out how to get my settings on my mic right. Because when I do recordings, this sounds great, but whenever I do a live stream, I always get people saying they can hardly hear me. Just working on my Zerg army tonight. Realized I was painting for the first time in a long time. And like, oh, you know, I could just throw this on as a live stream and see what if people watch. That way I can at least interact with my long abandoned audience. I bet they feel that way. Oh man, I hate the fact that I can't always produce videos and stuff and engage with people. Yeah, thanks. I don't know if I want to call you tabletop or date night. Well, tabletop. Yeah, thanks. I do enjoy live streaming quite a bit. It is quite fun. I better frame this better. It's quite fun. Just finding the time for it. Hey, okay, Paul. That's a lot easier than tabletop or date night. How's your night treating you, Paul? Paul, wife came up with the channel name. The same with mine. She really liked the one-page more as a joke from as one of the songs from Les Mis. But I am constantly procrastinating editing videos, I guess. That's my problem. I don't know if procrastinating is the right word, but yeah, I'm glad that you like the name. My wife is quite brilliant, so when she tells me that something's a good idea, I usually run with it. You know, this model here is... I feel like it's a test of my painting skills. Although I don't... Not that I have a lot of painting skills. I'm just really enjoying all the crevices and the little wrinkly bits. It's a lot of fun. I painted this... I did a base coat on this model... Oh, at least 9 months ago. And then it was just stuffed away in a drawer. And now I'm trying to paint it up so that way I might be able to use it in a game. Which is always fun. I feel like the real problem with live streaming, though, is if you're not doing it for like 3 hours, it's not always... I don't feel like it's always worth it for people. For me to find, 2-3 hours of time to live stream, it's been kind of difficult recently. But everyone's life's busy, so... I would love to do another tournament like I did last year. That was fun. Paul would... Yeah, getting 3 hours, I agree. Kids, life, exhausting. And with you too. You're like, you have to do all that stuff and edit your videos and produce content on a regular basis. And it's a lot of fun. It's just, like you said, you're exhausted at the end of the day. That's why I'm always impressed by other YouTubers and stuff who can prioritize this in their life and do a lot of fun things. Man, I don't know if I'm getting a good, clear image on this for you guys, but I really love this model. Oh. I've been so busy that haven't even had the time to really keep up with all the stuff that's been going on with one-page rules either. So thanks, Paul, for confirming the image looks good. We don't talk about Warboss Fitz. He is beyond superhuman. Just... The man is a workhorse and does incredibly high-quality work, videos. I really hope that he can become an incredibly successful YouTuber, because this community, like the wargaming community, is I want basically the whole wargaming community to know about Warboss and just his unbelievable output of armies, awesome videos. I think he deserves all of the respect. The same thing's true for the same thing is true for Good Enough Gaming. He's just such a good guy. It seems like there's some new YouTubers in the One Page Rules community as well. I've seen more and more content, which is fantastic. I absolutely love it. Although a lot of people right now are playing Space Marine 2. And that game I think is dangerous. For me, it's definitely a dangerous game. That's why I kind of can't buy it. I'm just scared that I'll invest what time I have on playing that game and getting sucked into it. Oh, I just noticed the comment. More is better. There isn't enough OPR stuff to watch. You're right, Paul. You're right. Although you do a pretty good job of making quite enjoyable content for people to watch. Videos. I don't know. I heard some people don't like the term content. They prefer videos or naming it specifically. I like the stuff you make. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Content is a weird word. I personally think of the videos I make as content. But I'm a person who watches an unbelievable amount of YouTube, so that's probably why. I've had practice only 3 videos on this channel, but a few hundred on other channels. Are you moonlighting for other channels? That's crazy. Yeah, I've got I think I've got 24 videos if you exclude the shorts. And so to have any number of videos in the triple digits is crazy, so good on you. Very ambitious there, Paul. 2 channels? That's crazy. Well, compared to you, I'm just a baby channel. I just noticed that there's 2 people watching. two people, another person's watching. You and I have a conversation, Paul. That's funny. Well, welcome, other person, to my crappy painting session. I hope you enjoy it. Oh, thanks, Paul. I appreciate that. Yeah, I work hard on making sure I have good content, and that's part of the problem, frankly. I absolutely love making these videos, and I love just increasing the quality of the videos, which is totally a trap. Like, essentially, I would love to produce audio dramas. Hey, Francisco. This building for a new high elf fleet army. Oh, those are fun. Are you gonna go super elite or vehicle heavy? What are we talking? I know you have me on the background, so I shouldn't distract you too much. I always thought the abbreviation of high elf fleet to hef as really funny. Oh, I'm glad that I could get you into this addiction then, there, Francisco, with my lore. Now that's some praise there, Paul. You're saying I got your wife into it as well because of my videos? Wow. That's a feat I can't even do with my wife. Although she has the unfortunate predicament of listening to me ramble on about lore and my theories about the lore in person, which is quite terrible. A fate for her, I'm sure. Okay, everyone loved my Jackals video, which I find really interesting. I don't know why that video in particular. I can understand the Soul Snatcher cults. People love that one, but it's the Jackal video is so many people's favorites. I wonder if it's just because the Jackal lore is really cool. Like, they did a good job of writing it, and I get to take credit for, not credit, but benefit from that. I gotta go get something. I'll be right back. That's quite funny. I left and then came back, and while I was gone, doubled the viewers. The table must have been really interesting while I was gone. Okay, what did I miss? Okay. Francisco, Jackals are such a unique faction. I can't really think of anything like that. And other than Tusken Raiders, even then, they're a nice evolution of the concept. It's true. They're quite unique. There's some like bits and pieces from 40k factions that they kind of take from. Well, I can't remember what they are. That faction off the top of my head, but they're also, I think they're just canine people, scavengers turned spacefarers is really just a cool concept. And then I love the fact that their whole faction is intertwined with space travel in the setting because of their access to the material that stabilizes jump gates. And so to have this, scavenger race, species thing turn into a sector important civilization is just a really fun concept. Paul, I printed one blown up to 250% scale, and it still had a ton of extra tiny details that didn't show up when they were small. Are you referring to the Soul Snatchers, or this model, or Jackals? I don't know what you're talking about, because you said the details are bare to paint, though. So, I've never gone and printed a model that is massively bigger scale. Maybe I should do that. Or maybe I shouldn't. I have a resin printer. That would be a lot of resin. I've been thinking about buying a filament printer so I can do terrain, because I really love doing terrain. The Jackals, they have like tiny lightning bolts on their gun power packs and Phillips screws on really? That's quite detailed. That's interesting. Yeah, filament printers, there's so many uses for them with dealing with the terrain, and even when you mix material. Like, I like using cardboard, or not cardboard, more of chipboard or cardstock, like that thicker cardstock. And a filament printer would be really, really helpful for printing out like little gribblies to go on flat surfaces for those cardboards. I would love that. Biggest print I printed was a Robot Legion Echo Hero at 690. Even hauled it, took half a bottle of resin. Man, I don't know if I know of a model that I would love that much to put an entire half a bottle of resin. I'm assuming if it's almost 15 inches tall that you you cut it up into parts and then assembled it later. Because I don't know of very many resin printers that have a print height of 15 inches. Or at least none that I would want to print models on. Okay, foot tall print bed. That's pretty darn good. When you're with me, since I've been printing mostly models, the only time that I've ever had to deal with the max height of my Mars 3 was when I was printing my Zerg Queen. And that was not even close to that. I've been so happy with my Mars 3. It's such a good little printer. Recently I've recorded the audio for two videos so far, and I haven't done anything really more than that, which is a shame. And I did one for the Custodian Brothers, it's a lore breakdown, and then the other one was for the Infected Colonies. And I'm beginning to realize the Infected Colonies pretty darn cool faction. They remind me a lot of the anime called Parasite. It's like it's kind of like the faction was, well, we need something like the Flood, but we want to have it have more personality. That's the really big problem with dealing with horde armies in terms of lore, especially more of alien-y horde armies, is you don't get to know the characters, because there are really no characters. It's kind of hard for a horde or a hive mind to have any meaningful characters. And so far, One Page Rules with Grimdark Future has just avoided the problem altogether by saying, you know what, we're just not gonna have hive minds. And we're gonna make every hordy alien faction that consumes biomass or takes over the flesh of the living, we're gonna make them sapient and give them all personalities. Kind of cool, but yeah, Paul, the list for infected colonies is awesome. There was before one of their updates, they had this infected gunner, I think it was called. They had reliable and some other rule I can't remember, but it was a squad of 3 of them could consistently produce 11 hits, and it was like 60 points. It was ridiculously cheap for the number of hits. And so I made a alien hives plus infected colonies list. 2,000 points. That was just based off of the idea of how many hits I can put on the opponent. Not quality hits, just hits. And that was so much fun. It was such a wonky list to play. I printed a bunch of Stitch zombies to use as infected colony zombies when Grimdark Future or StarQuest comes up. I am way behind the times on that. I've not looked into Quest at all. I was really surprised when they announced their first named character. I think they announced their first named character, which is interesting because from what I've seen previously, they were a little resistant to doing named characters. I'm totally interested in learning Quest, though. Let's see, do I like that color? I don't know what I would do with Quest, though. It'd be kind of fun to do a series telling Quest stories. One of the things that I've been playing around with for a long time is doing potentially a story series or something that's more of an audio drama, which is, a lot of work. And I love it. But about just a dude with a tiny ship going on kind of tiny mundane adventures, running a bed and breakfast out of his spaceship. And by bed and breakfast, I mean like carrying passengers and doing his best to be a really good host in the face of cruel, unforgiving galaxy. The idea of a bed and breakfast in a tight, cramped quartered spaceship in hostile territory just appeals to me. Because it's just a weird story, and I love it. Maybe that's what I'll do next. I'll start a story series on that. Any thoughts from the chat on my dumb little story idea? Just because I say it's dumb doesn't mean I don't like it. I like a lot of dumb ideas I come up with. Paul, I like those kinds of stories. Normal people in a weird world. Yeah. I don't know if I want it set in the one-page rules setting or not. I mean, in Grimdark Future, it's kind of a generic setting. Not saying that they wrote a generic setting, but it's kind of like how D&D is effectively in a very, very generic version of Lord of the Rings, because it sets the Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit sets the tone for the whole high fantasy genre. So, Francis, go for it. That would be a really interesting way to meet different factions on a personal level. That is really the whole point of it. I would really like to just tell these extremely personal stories on a very low level. I don't know if any of you have read my um, submissions to the writing jams, but they fall into that uh, personal level stories. I don't like telling the broad based stories. I like getting in the nitty gritty. Um, and it's always been a lot of fun because you can really experience a lot of very interesting aspects of a world through just interacting with a person. Like, you can learn so much about a setting just from the way a character holds themselves. And truth be told, the way you can make a setting really, truly worth caring about is by telling those personal stories. Oh, sorry. Just notice your comment here, Paul. Yeah, GF is pretty open. You could just place it in the frontier or something. The Sirius sector is really small. Yeah. Man, I love the fact the Sirius sector is small. I really hope they embrace that small aspect more in some of their stories. Because it deserves to be like a bunch of factions fighting in a phone booth level of conflict. The idea of the flying bed and breakfast is specifically to go and meet interesting individuals and tell their stories. But not like we're gonna go and learn about this character, more of just interactions in a tight, cramped spaceship over long periods of time. Long periods of time being like a few weeks to travel to their destination. And as characters interact with each other over like the breakfast table or in the common area or whatever, they just get to know each other. And that seems like a lot of fun. And doing some stories where the main character is traveling in his ship without any guests and getting into little hijinks as he has to, gets hit by an asteroid and has to refuel at a station that he's never been to before in that experience. I really love the idea of telling cosmic events through mundane situations. There's a lot of power in telling mundane stories. Although those stories aren't usually... Not a lot of people like listening to mundane stories, frankly. The Frontier Bed and Breakfast ship would make sense in lore. No jump gates out there. Well, yes, that's true. And the other piece is, it's not like jump gates take you exactly to the location you're looking for. They're just set routes. And so there could be a service where people are like, hey, I need to get to this spot of the sector. There's no real good routes there. and no one wants to travel to those locations because it's not profitable. So this guy's niche could be just, going to those out of the way places. Kind of like bush pilots in Alaska, I think that's what it is. Yeah, the jump gates are kind of like yeah, this would be a shuttle bus between the airport and hotel, but in space, basically. But the idea of just, you would use jump gates, but at some point, you just stuck traveling between locations. Definitely not using jump engines. That would be not a good contribution to the story, because then you could just hop wherever you want. Bush pilots are awesome. They have cool custom modified planes designed to land in weird places and stuff. Could have the guy's ship be unique like that. Yes. I really like the idea of this person taking a really heavily modified ship and investing way too much time and energy into like creature comforts, and it doesn't quite match the rest of the ship. So like, yeah, we have high class blankets and sheets and stuff, and you can find those in this tiny cupboard on the above a radiator in this engine room. Right? Just very limited space, highly modified ship. And that would be just kind of funny. Oh, did I bump the camera? Or am I just doing a bad job of... I should have set this to a low latency stream instead of... Sorry, ultra low latency stream instead of a low latency stream, because now you guys are going to see what the lag is from when you write something and when I can respond to it. Okay, good. Thanks, Paul. You're out there making sure that you guys can hear me and see me and all that fun jazz. Yeah, the idea of also just picking up various guests and seeing how they react in this custom environment, like having the ship be one of the main characters. Like, what would a Robot Legion guest act like, be like? What are their interests? How would they react when they get their own private cabin? Would they want a private cabin? And because of working on a video for the infected colonies, I always think, what would it be like if this guy picked up someone from the infected colonies? Like, is that a horror moment, or is that a... I know that various different strains react differently, but I kind of feel like having an infected colony member on your ship in a tight quarters is just setting yourself up for Alien. It's really interesting. Would a Robot Legion guy just want a closet like Bender's apartment in Futurama? That's great. Maybe that's how this guy makes a good chunk of his money, is he just has a bunch of closets that he rents out to Robot Legion members. The other thing I had the idea about with him... Oh, wait. What if the infected colony guy tried to hide being infected and comes out during the trip? Yeah, that's the type of thing I like. That would be such a good way to maybe not explore the horror of it, because that's kind of the classic zombie trope, you know. A character gets bitten, doesn't want to tell anyone. In their heart of heart, they hope that they're special and they're immune, and then they turn in the worst moment type of situation. But maybe with the infected colony member, they were hiding it because they just don't like people treating them differently. And maybe it's kind of like Leela in Futurama. Oh, she's a one-eyed alien? That's perfectly fine. If she was a mutant, oh, that would be bad. She would have to be put in the sewers. Maybe it's that type of situation where they're hiding it not because they're trying to infect anyone. They're just, yeah, I'm an alien with grotesque physiology, not a human that's been infected. Because apparently, from what I can tell in the lore, there isn't the sentiment of kill the Xenos, right? It's definitely more of opportunistic situations. And a lot more accepting of the strange. And so it'd be interesting just to see, to have a story about that character living in close quarters with another human and trying to hide the fact that they're an infected colony member, and eventually just coming out and telling him. Has anyone seen if they, like, One Page Rules ever announced the winners from the last writing jam in August, I think? Or was it July? Can't remember. I haven't seen anything. I know I took second place, but there's usually a post, and I haven't seen a post about it, so. I was really surprised that I got as high as I did on that, because of my idea was, again, a dumb idea of a strategist. I don't recall that. I didn't read too many from the last writing jam. It was really good. There was I think total 50 submissions, which is pretty darn high. Thanks. Yeah, with the the prompt or the theme being that wasn't part of the plan. I really liked turning it on its head and taking it from the standpoint of someone who made the plan. Although it wasn't as crazy as my submission for not this last one, but the one before that, which was I should not have gotten. I should have been disqualified, frankly. And it was there was the story, and then on front of the story was like a note from a demon thanking the reader for releasing them from their prison. And that by reading the story. By opening up the story, they had freed the demon. That was funny. That was fun to write. I'm glad you liked that, Paul. That story. It was a cool idea, but it probably violated some rule because it was definitely not formatted the way we were instructed to format things. But it's not like they really have a robust way of finding and enforcing the rules. It's kind of more of an honor system, which is good. You know, it's a smaller jam. There shouldn't be a layer of judges determining all this stuff. It'd be really cool if they could make part of the voting public. Because right now it's only those who submitted, I believe it's only those who submitted it can really vote for stories. Looks like we picked up a third person. Welcome to the stream. It's just a random stream of me painting this Ultralisk and having a grand old time. But back to the spacecraft bed and breakfast idea. Having it be that the guy is traveling slow, it doesn't have a jump engine or anything like that. Also has a lot of fun aspects to it because of supplies. Because you just have to carry so much more in terms of supplies in order to have, you know, spacefaring be viable. And then also I've been thinking about, like, where did this guy who's running this ship come from? And I was talking to Devious, who is someone who has been a long-term fan of this channel and great supporter. He said, what if they were a human from Earth? Which was an interesting idea. Like, they were caught up in the wormhole event. Like, they might have been a refugee or something. Thank you, Francisco. Thank you very much for joining me for my random stream. I appreciate it. Have a good night. But if the guy was caught up in the wormhole event, it's fully possible that he didn't come out when everyone else did from the wormhole. So maybe he was flung into the future as well as into the Sirius sector instead of when everyone else did. So we get this kind of fish out of water aspect of a guy with more ancient tech trying to figure out his way in the Sirius sector. And that might be a good way to introduce the readers to it as well. Or listeners, I guess. Depending on what I want to do. But then there's part of me who's like, I don't know if I really even want to have that much information about the character be told. Like, I don't really know if I want to be that there's first person close first person, second person, third person, that type of thing. I don't know if I want to start there or not. So I'm playing around the idea. Paul, with I love that idea. I had a similar idea for a homebrew faction, a bunch of people who came out of wormhole farther away, disconnected. Yes. Oh, man, that would be a great homebrew faction. What if there was a homebrew faction that was the Battle Brothers? Like, pop out of the wormhole way later, and they're way more powerful than the regular Battle Brothers. Like, the regular Battle Brothers now are a copy of a copy of a copy, essentially. That'd be funny. I know originally there was mentions in the Custodian Brothers lore. I don't think they included this. It makes me sad that they don't include this, of how the Conduit isn't immortal. And so he's just a copy, and every single time they have to get a new Conduit, they're a copy of the old Conduit, and that there is some degrading in the quality of the consciousness transfer. And so the Conduit over time could just be going insane. Because it's not that technology wasn't developed fully before they were forced to use it. That's kind of an interesting idea that I liked. I hope they do something with that. Although, with that, it does kind of put a time limit on the Conduit. And, you know, the Conduit's basically stand-in for the Emperor. I'm actually pretty darn happy with this model. It's how it's turning out. I wasn't expecting it to come together this well. With so little work. Yeah, I guess that's right. It's kind of similar to the Votan STC core getting dementia. Although I do like the idea of them having, like, maybe when they make a new Conduit, not every... It's not just a one-off, hey, we made a new Conduit, huzzah! It might be something like, okay, we produced a batch of Conduits that are clones. Let's see which one is the best fit for the consciousness. Kind of like the... Again, I'm going to show how much of a weeb I am, mentioning anime twice on a stream. The Fuhrer King Bradley from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. He was part of a program to make a homunculus be more human and be the king of the kingdom, right? And so they selected a bunch of kids, raised them up, and had them compete against each other to prove that they're worthy of being the king. And he was the only one that really survived, so he proved that he was worthy of that. That'd be a really interesting take, is if every single time they have to do a Conduit, it's not just one copy, it's a few copies, and they have to compete to prove that they're the best copy. Although, now I'm thinking about it, wouldn't they just have the original genes of the founder on record? Like, do they need to copy the previous conduit? I guess the copy would be the consciousness, not the physical form of the conduit. And for anyone who's joining recently, this is just a random stream and my attempt to paint this Ultralisk. So welcome if you are enjoying this stream. Join the chat. If you have any questions, comments, or random things that you want me to say, feel free. I can't wait for them to publish, if they ever publish, the official story of the death of the God Queen. Like, that's such a great idea of wormhole demons coming and attacking planets, and then the God Queen goes to save them. It's so good. I do have to say that I play Alien Hives because I love the Zerg from StarCraft 2. But my favorite factions from One Page Rules Grimdark Future are the Wormhole Demons. Their lore is just immaculate. Paul, that would be epic. They could hire some novel writers for that one. Yeah. Or do some... a gigantic narrative campaign? No, combine those two, Paul. Giant narrative campaign and novel writers. So everyone, the results get compiled, and then the novel writer uses that as the foundation. Like what I did in the video of the Fractured Wall. That was so much fun. Taking a tournament game and turning it into a story. I'm a sucker for gigantic narrative campaigns. Even though I've never really participated in one, I just love the idea of it. But they're always just a logistical nightmare. And that's part of what makes them fun. That was really cool. Seems like every few games, one of them would make a great battle scene in a book. Yeah. That's... So... I wish we could do something that huge and epic, but I have a feeling everyone is too busy. I know I am. Well, that's why I ran the tournament that I did last year the way I did. I don't know, I really haven't talked much about it, but it was such a great tournament. It was, everyone had a week to play a game. It was played on Tabletop Simulator, and all people had to do was fill out a form, which reported the results of the game, and then they could write up a summary of their game and epic moments. And so it turned into this document that preserved what happened in each game, and then also on top of that, the players' take on the happenings of the game and their kind of narrative twist to it. And that document proved really valuable when I was trying to write Defenders of the Broken Wall. Fractured Wall, I should say. Because I could I went through, reviewed their notes. I watched the game, so I reviewed my notes, and it really set the tone. And then on top of that, the two players actually in the Discord server that we used to run it wrote some cool character pieces about it. Like Devious, who's one of the players who participated, he wrote a pre-battle story where it was like a commander talking to his men, and then a post-battle story of how the Jackals and the Dark Elf fleet members work together to recover their wounded. And so by doing it that way, we really made it so it was low impact on players, because it was just, okay, can you find a game in a week? Although there was some selection bias there, because the people who did join the tournament are the ones that were more likely to, you know, have the free time necessary to play in it. I don't normally highlight like this, but I'm having fun with it. Makes sense. I can only play with my wife, and we live together. We can't get more than a couple games a month. Yeah, that's fair. When you have more than one hobby, and you work hard, and you got kids and family and all that, it boils down to it's just everything's competing for your time and attention. And just some things can't get prioritized. Not because you don't want to, but just because that's what happens in life. At least that's what I tell myself. I think that's why Games Workshop did their narrative game the way they did, with the Ultramarines versus the Tyranids, where you just had to report your result from a game, nothing else, because that's pretty low impact. Full-time job, several hobbies, many kids, and I have to sleep enough to not die somehow. You know, the sleeping part, dang, that bothers me. If I didn't have to sleep, I could get so much work done. Not like work that actually matters, but like hobby stuff. I could make so many YouTube videos if I didn't have to sleep. If I didn't sleep, those videos would be weird as all get out. Welcome to my sleep-deprived live stream. I'll be talking in what I believe the alien hive's language is. I totally agree. I used to be able to not sleep, but since hitting about 30, I can't do that anymore. I'm a little jealous. I for whatever reason, my body is like, sleep is the most important thing. And if you don't get enough sleep, you're gonna die. And so when I would see people like, or hear people pull all-nighters, I was just like, wow, I want to try that. And I'd do it, and I'm sick for a week. And then I turned 30, and it's like, if you're not getting 8 hours, you're going to be sick. So yeah, that that barrier of hitting 30 really does put a damper on things. I don't even want to think about what 40 will be like. But Paul, you're also saying that, and like, it's really late right now, so you must be doing what I'm doing with seizing back, taking control of the night, no sleep. Okay, I could do a lot of things. I could do a lot of all-nighters in college. Then in my 20s, it was like 2, 3 a.m. at the latest. Then it hit 30 and it became 1 a.m. or I'm dead. 35 and now I'm useless after midnight. Yeah, it's 12:38. My brain is mush. You could go to bed, dude. I appreciate you hanging out with me. You know, I can't promise that I'll do one of these anytime soon again. But yeah, don't. It's a Thursday night too. You probably have work in the morning. You should go to bed. Frankly, I'm surprised that anyone came to watch this at how late I started and with no notice. It makes me, happy. I wish I could do more to show how much your support and everyone's support means to me. That's not a reasonable excuse for you to not go to bed. Okay? You can't say, well, one page more talked about how much he likes us and how much important I'll stay up with him. No, you should go to bed. I'm still semi-productive, but I'm going to pay for it tomorrow. No, don't pay for it tomorrow. Go to bed. Watching me try to paint this model, to me, okay, it's not worth the pain of just trying to get work done when you're sleep deprived. I don't have to work tomorrow right now because I took today and tomorrow off because my wife had her wisdom teeth removed this morning, and so I've been taking care of the kids and her, so I can get away with staying up late tonight at least. Thank you. Oh, she's doing fantastic. It was really, really simple procedure. None of the wisdom teeth were impacted. Took 45 minutes and she's only had 2 wisdom teeth grow in, which is cool. So it was just quick and easy, and she's just been sleeping off the meds they put her on all day. And she works incredibly hard taking care of our kids and me sometimes. So she deserves a break. Although recovering from getting teeth pulled from you isn't quite a break, but sometimes it's hard because she doesn't want to take care of herself and take breaks. So at least this way she's forced to. Yeah. keep on finding wrinkles that I missed. This is a wrinkly dude. You know, I might be tapping into my small but dedicated UK audience with this stream. The few, the proud, the British. Or Welsh. Or Scottish. If everyone watching is in the UK or anything right now, say oi in the chat or something, I don't know. If there's anyone. And if you want to do that. Okay. You know, I really struggle with painting with horns. Because sometimes I nail it. Like, yeah, I got the horns perfect. Other times, I don't. And the problem is, horns tend to come in pairs on models. And so it'll be like, the left horn, nailed it. Right horn, ugly as sin. And it makes me so mad. Because I don't actually know how to paint those. And on top of that, do I want to go like a more traditional horn color on this? Do I want to do something crazy? Too many options. Just too many options. I'm missing the paint. Oh boy. I'm currently looking for a bottle of paint that I've seemingly misplaced. The only way I know how to do horns is white dry brush and then speed paint pallid bone over it. I have yet to try speed paints yet. I don't know how to really use speed paints. I've watched, you know, a ton of videos covering slap chop. But I just feel like, wouldn't speed painting paints just not look great because they're kind of monotone? And I say that, and I've seen Warboss Fitz just absolutely crush it with all of his speed painting, and his models are gorgeous. To be honest, I don't like how speed paints look, but I don't have the time/skill to do any other ways. Fitz's speed paint jobs look pretty good though. Yeah, so I've said this on a previous live stream. When it comes to Warboss's paint jobs, He's not going to win any golden demons. That's for sure. But when you look at it, it's like the amount of skill going into what he's doing. It's just he's mastered the basics, and it's just a pleasure to watch. Just a pleasure to watch, like anyone who's mastered anything. This is such a shame. I can't find the paint that I wanted to use. Oh well. Let's do something stupid and try some necrotic flesh as a starting point for these horns. Let's see if I regret it on the very first brush stroke. That's too much paint. I just stuck my finger into some orange paint. Comedy of errors at this point. I also want to try out airbrushing. It seems like you can do some really cool things with that. Especially saving time wise. Like, you can really mass produce a lot of tabletop ready quality painted models using an airbrush. But it's that time piece and skill piece that I think comes into effect. Like, airbrushing feels like it's a whole different hobby. Maybe it's just a whole different section or subsection of this hobby. I also want to make sure that if Warboss watches this, I'm not saying that you couldn't win a golden demon. I'm just saying you could. I'm not going to stick my foot in my mouth anymore. It's too late. I'm saying too many controversial things. And I haven't even really said anything controversial. Okay, what do I think of that? It's probably like, just like any skill, it seems intimidating, but after one weekend, you'll have it worked out well enough. Fair. But the other piece of that is like, I don't have any friends who have airbrushes. So there's a little bit of a money commitment. It's like I've got to spend money to buy an airbrush in order to spend the weekend, you know. Sometimes I'll be in Harbor Freight and I'll see their airbrush kits. I'm like, do you think I could use that? Probably not, right? Probably not a good enough quality airbrush to paint models. Wow. I just checked. I just looked at how many people are watching. Welcome. I wasn't expecting this many. This is my random Paint and Ultralisk stream. Thank you for jumping in. Maybe what I should do is read through or read snippets from some of the scripts that I've been working on. The one I've really been working on for a long time, and I just can't figure out how I want to do it or finish it, is the lore video that covers the army that Warboss Fitz made for me. I love that army he made for me. It's such a great work that he does. The models are great, and the lore is really fun because they're wormhole demons of plague, and they're really creepy looking. So I've been working really hard on coming up with something for that script, and it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse on what I'm doing and how I want to treat it. At one point, I was even working on building a set for a scene that I wanted to enact. I don't know if I've said this online or not, but I used to do stop motion animation when I was younger as a hobby. I did it for about 7 years. And so I love building, sets and doing stop motion animation and that type of cinematography. So I really wanted to do a video introducing that army and the lore for that army by creating a stop motion set and telling it using the actual models. And I've been chugging along on that, and that's been fun. Maybe I'll go and snag the set. I've used it as train. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully, people are still here. Excuse me. Okay. So this is a attempt at building a set that I did using foam and fun stuff. And it's such a bad paint job right now. Not like it's a terrible paint job. It's more of that it's bland. And so the idea would be that the set. I don't have enough room under this camera, which is sad. So the idea is that I would have this set be where the models are, and I can come in at different camera angles and capture the scene. Anyways, I'll stop shoving the piece of foam directly in the camera and get back to painting. But yeah, so the idea with that is using the models, because one of the things I would love to do is do the lore breakdowns using actual models and doing scenes like that. I've talked about that. But there's so many logistics around getting enough pictures of that stuff and all that it becomes a little bit unfeasible at this point. But I would love to tell stories using actual models instead of using official art or AI generated art or anything like that. It is hard to getting good pictures of things that small, but it would be cool. Yeah, it's also if like I ask for people to send pictures in, picture quality is inconsistent, and then what if there's stuff in the background, or it just starts opening up a can of worms that I don't have the time to deal with, even though I'd really love to. It'd be so fun to have people send pictures in of custom scenes that they've done and include those in the videos. With the story I have for that custom army war boss it's made me was that there were a bunch of battle brothers who boarded a refugee fleet ship at the Battle at the Edge of Space, and they captured the ship, and they were expecting a lot more, resistance, and because they were told that these are rebels and they're traitors, and it just turns out it's just a bunch of people who want to be homesteaders away from being controlled by the founder, and so they seize control of the ship, and then the wormhole events happen, and they're sucked into the wormhole, and they're dropped off on a planet covered in water, and they're underwater. Their ship's underwater. And this platoon of battle brothers are stuck in a situation where they're trying to figure out how to escape, trying to figure out what's going on, like what the wormhole event was. And because of the battles that they went on earlier, there's holes in the ship, and these holes let the water from the planet in, and that's when they find out that the water is not regular water. It's some sort of living entity that moves through the ship and kills off the passengers one by one. And so the battle brothers hole up in the main bridge in the control room, and they watch as the water fills the ship and takes over these people. And one of the battle brothers got a little bit of water on them, and then the story is told from their perspective, and he gets to see the Havoc God of Plague himself. And the Havoc God of Plague gives him a deal. If they accept him, he will allow them to survive. But that means that they have to spread his influence. And to show that, he has to let the waters in. And so the idea is that the army, the models in the army that Orboss gave me are the transformed remnants of the Battle Brothers who made a deal with the Havoc God of Plague. And since they were trapped at the bottom of a planet covered in water, they are more like those marine creatures. That, I don't know if anyone's seen the live stream I did where I unboxed it, but they're more like eldritch horror marine-like creatures, which is really cool. And so the idea of them being corrupted battle brothers forced into servitude of the Havoc God is really one that's fun. Although my conception of the Havoc God of Plague is basically Mr. Clean. Which is kind of funny. You know, a Havoc God of Plague being Mr. Clean is weird. But if you read the lore, the way they describe the Havoc Gods is they're dealing with death by avoiding it, and dealing with decay by doing different things. And Plague's way of dealing with it is taking the corruption that lives within itself and spreading it to the world around it. And so if it's getting rid of its corruption, it doesn't really make sense that the Havoc God of Plague would be this decaying creature or covered in putrid anything. If it's trying to get rid of its decay, it might manifest itself as an immaculately clean creature or being. So that's why I think of Mr. Clean. And the idea of this Havoc God existing in a domain that around the Havoc God is immaculately clean. Just pure white. But the further away you get from the god, the dirtier it gets. Until you end up with essentially Nurgle's garden, if you're far enough away from it. And so it takes the decay and spreads it and removes it from itself. It makes everyone else, it makes it so it's everyone else's problem. That's fun. And that's what I would like to do is tell that story. And it's 100% based off of just the army that Orboss sent me. How are people doing? Got a couple of you still left. You either night owls or something. Hopefully Tabletop Date Night went to bed. Dude has to work in the morning. not asleep. Gonna make me end the stream to force you to go to bed. That's what's gonna happen. Okay. At least you're getting ready for bed. The other thing I like the idea of for lore is that what if the wormhole demons weren't active in the Sirius sector until after the Radiance Casse? Which, okay, in the War Book it basically says that, but what I mean by that is that they literally could not interact with it. There's another idea I have, which theory-wise I really, really like, and I think it's true. No, I don't know if I think it's true. It's my favorite headcanon I've got for this entire setting. Is that the reason why wormhole demons can exist, the reason why there's magic in the setting, in this galaxy, because remember the Milky Way galaxy is part of the setting, but there weren't any of those elements there. One of the reasons, so I think that the reason why it exists in this galaxy and not in the Milky Way galaxy is because of the prevalence of wormhole creation. So jump gates are building wormholes. So what if jump gates weaken the fabric of reality? And the more that they're used, the weaker it gets. And so these wormhole demons and these havoc gods can interact with this sector because of that. Oh, I see a chat. I'm not sure how the plague rot idea works with models looking very fungus-like. Maybe that works for rotting plants, but I don't get plague/illness vibes from mushrooms. I don't get them from mushrooms, but I get it from spores, because spores are nasty. I just feel like fungus itself is so connected to breaking down of organic materials. And mushrooms themselves are just such a tiny subsection of fungus that, yeah, I wouldn't think of, when I think of rot, I don't think of a shiitake mushroom. But I also don't think of mycelium growing across a corpse, or a slime mold navigating to a new nutrient source. But I do have a lot of good memories of being in forests and finding dead wood and just finding various forms of mushrooms. But again, like, trees don't evoke illness. Dying trees doesn't evoke illness in my mind. So, got a point. This is actually coming together surprisingly well. Rawr. I got to figure out how I want to base this too. Let's see. Lava orange. I'm looking for a different colored paint. chance I want to do this one. Oh, that is a bright yellow. Nope, that's not a good. I really like your idea of the immaculate appearing plague god. It makes sense that he could be. That could be how the plague god tricks you. Yeah. I don't know if tricks you. Yeah, I don't know. Because there's so much you can play with. There's the Judeo-Christian concept of demons and like that are meant to trick you. But there's also another aspect of a demon who tells the truth but just does evil things. So they're just not going to lie to your face. They're going to eat babies, but they're just not going to lie about it. And so I'm not so sure I know which will the wormhole demons would be like. Especially Plague. Is Plague going to lie? Is Plague going to be like, yeah, I'm not going to spread decay? Or is it going to be like, I'm going to spread decay because I hate dying and I don't want to die. So can you help me with that? And then you look at him like, okay, well, you don't look like you're dying. You look pretty immaculate. And then you find out. So I guess that's a form of trickery. Even if they're saying the truth, not portraying the truth in its fullness. The other aspect that is definitely a headcanon of mine that I absolutely love is that when someone makes a deal with a wormhole demon, especially Plague, they have to spread Plague in order to preserve themselves. So, like, you could have a harbinger of plague, the biggest, baddest demon, and it could be immaculately clean because it's really good at spreading that entropy, that destruction. And so maybe the higher ranked you are, the cleaner you are, because you're just better at spreading that destruction. But who knows? There's not a lot of lore exploration right now from official sources on how the wormhole demons are. I do like the fact that they have corporeal forms and require sustenance. Because that implies that wormhole demons poop. And that's really funny to me. After a long day ransacking the city, a harbinger of war has to sit down and take a dump like the rest of us. But that's also horrifying because it does say that they cease to exist when they die, which means they ate stuff, had a physical form, and then their physical form poofs into non-existence. So that's taking matter from our reality and removing it. Not a lot, But if there were a lot of demons, they could really mess up thermodynamics in our universe. But does that really matter when you're dealing with a universe that has magic? Such a great model. This is so much fun to paint. Oh, my music ran out. Should probably go to bed soon. Frankly, all of us should be going to bed soon, unless you're, in Europe. I keep on talking about bed, like I'm getting after people, but we're all awake. We're all trying to take control of the night, get some hobbying done. I love doing hobby stuff at night. I do not like the way I'm painting these breastplates. Hopefully they look better once I'm done with them. They just don't have a lot of texture on them. Like over here, lots of texture. And I can understand why, when you have it flat, it's not like you're going to see them much. But that lack of texture kind of makes it hard to paint. Well, I think you're right. I gotta head to bed. Thanks for streaming. I'll see you next time. Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate you hanging out with me. Hope you sleep well, and hopefully your brain's not mush for work tomorrow. Good night. So who's going to step up in his place? Huh? Are we just going to silently listen to me rattle on about random stuff? Might start singing. You don't want that. Goop that up. I don't like that look. Oh well. I can fix it later. gonna look good on the table, though. I tend to have a problem with painting my models too subtly. And so, you know, when you're 5 feet away from it, it just looks like a brown blob. So I've been trying to punch up my colors that I use and then really bring up my highlights. It improves the visibility of the models, that's for sure. But it kind of makes them look, you know, more cartoony. I'm definitely getting worse at painting. I'm not like skill-wise, just more of I can feel myself getting more tired and the painting skills going down correspondingly. I'm really happy with this, the way it's turning out. This is looking very much Zerg color scheme. Gotta learn how to paint horns well. This is a good model for that. There's like at least 30 horns on this thing. By the end of it, I'm gonna have amazing horns. And it'll just be... You'll be able to tell the progression of the horns based off the quality. Yeah, this is going well. Okay. Oh, well, that's it. It's past midnight. It's nearly 3 hours past my bedtime. I've had a blast painting. I've had a lot of fun hanging out with you all. Thank you for joining me. Let's see if I can get a close-up of this model. Some great progress. I'm liking the look of this. Yeah. I might have to do this again. Paint and live stream, I should say. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. I will talk to you all later. Bye.